Okay. Hello. Hello, microphone. Okay. Cool. Okay. It's working. Okay, fantastic. I am home in Seattle, as you can probably tell. Sorry if you can hear crows and water coming from the gutters. There's not much I can do about that. I'm working with what I have. I know that I originally said that I wasn't going to bring any of my recording equipment with me to Seattle, but when it got down to crunch time, I just didn't sort all my recordings out, so I ended up having to bring my microphone and my capture card, and my switch dock. So I do have my recording equipment here, but I'm using my iPhone to record this face cam right now. It might not end up going in the video. You'll obviously know. I don't know if it's worked out yet, but we'll see in editing. Anyways, you have seen the title of this video. I very, very, very stupidly decided that it was time to flatten my island for a hard reset a couple of days ago, and I did not realize how long that was going to take. By the end of recording all of this footage, which I've obviously cut down for you, I had like 11 and a half hours of me just flattening Fika. It took a long time, and it is the 22nd today. I'm a bit late getting this video up. Sorry, again, my life's kind of a mess right now. But we'll be back to normalcy soon, hopefully. Anyways, we're 3 days from Christmas, and I haven't decorated at all. In fact, I've done the opposite of decorating. My mods have told me how silly I am for doing this right before Christmas, but by the time I realized how dumb it was kind of too late. So I just gotta roll with it now. So yeah, this is gonna be quite a chill, chatty video. I have cut the footage down. I know that I've got about 20 minutes, so just once I hit that 20-minute mark, I'm gonna just stop recording. Even if it's mid-sentence, I have to stop, because I really want to get this out for you guys. So, sorry if the quality of this one's a bit bad. My bad. Okay, so I asked on the community page and on Discord what you guys would want me to talk about for a voiceover for the video, and the top comment that I got was from Addie Crossing, and she said, "I would love to hear you ramble about nonsense. Honestly, I like hearing your voice. So just talk, I'll still watch." Thank you. It can literally be about anything. Maybe talk about seeing your family again, your experience traveling during this time. Only if you want to, if it's too personal. Thank you, I appreciate that. I think I'll talk about my experience traveling first, and then I'll talk to you about how it was seeing family. So I flew on December 9th, and I was actually supposed to fly out earlier than that, I believe. Either earlier or later, but my flight got canceled 2 or 3 times. My friends assured me, who've traveled more often than me, that that's quite normal during these times for flights to get canceled, because they just can't, stuttering, they just can't fill the flights. But I did manage to secure one, and when I got to the airport, it took a bit longer to check in than it normally does. At my local airport, I can normally get through security, like from showing up at the airport to checking in. I normally check in ahead of time, but I wasn't allowed to this time. But yeah, so, sorry, all over the place. But from getting to the airport to getting through security, it normally only takes me about half an hour, because my local airport's not huge. They're not as massive as the ones in America. But this time, it took about an hour and a half, so a lot longer. I did show up early because I anticipated a bit of messiness. So, it all worked out. It's not like I came close to missing it or anything. Yes, crows, I hear you. And everybody was masked up for the most part. Of course, you've got your goofy people who, wear it here and they don't wear it on covering their nose. But, just keep your distance from those people. And then I had to transfer at Heathrow, And Heathrow was a whole different story from my local airport. Like, everything at my local airport in Scotland was shut down. You couldn't go through the duty-free area. It was just all closed. You basically showed up and you went to your gate. None of the pubs were open. You could stop at Starbucks, but that was about it. And then I stopped at Heathrow, and everything was open. And for those of you who've been to London Heathrow Airport, there's Gucci open, Fendi open, Cartier open, like everything's open. And I'm like, why are these shops open right now? It was a bit strange because nothing was open where I lived, and then to just fly, an hour south and all of a sudden everything was open at Heathrow. So that was a bit weird, and it was very, very busy. My local airport that I left home from, the airport was dead. There was only maybe a couple flights going, and Heathrow seemed to be as alive as it normally is, if that makes sense. So that was a bit odd. I just tried to find a small corner for myself and stay away from people, because I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I was doing a placement this week in a vet clinic, and I had to test negative a certain number of days after I landed in order to do that placement, just for safety precautions, obviously. So I was extra careful while traveling, because that placement was very important to me, and being able to spend time with my family was very important to me. So when I got on the flight for my long haul flight back to Seattle, and that's a 10-hour flight, right? So it's a long flight. Everybody was masked up. I noticed everybody was quite good about it, and I flew with British Air and had, honestly, I had the most enjoyable flight that I've ever experienced. The airline was so dead that everybody had a row to themselves, and I made friends with my flight attendant. He was a lovely lad. He came by, and it was like 11 in the morning when they were doing their first, round of drinks, when they bring the drink cart and they ask if you want some juice or Sprite or something. And I had a little bit of watery eyes, because traveling and leaving home for 3 weeks is a bit of a stressful thing for me. So once I'm alone and can kind of process my emotions, I got a bit emotional. I was really upset about not going to see Jack for 3 weeks. So I was just a bit sad, and I think the flight attendant noticed that. So when he came by, he was like, "Can I interest you in anything to drink? Do you want some juice?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm okay. I've got my water. Thank you. I appreciate it, though." And he was like, "You sure you don't want some wine?" And I was like, "Am I allowed to have wine this early?" Mind you, it was 11 in the morning. And he was like, "Of course. Red or white?" And I was like, "Red if you're offering." And then he gave me 2 bottles. So when you fly, they give you little bottles of wine that I think equate to a glass. So it's like having a glass of wine. And he gave me 2, and I was like, "Bless you, thank you." I didn't say this, but in my head I was like, I feel like he just knows that this is stressful for everyone, and since there were so few people on the flight, they could just pass out the wine. So that was lovely. And then he came around and served dinner and was like, "More wine?" And I was like, "If you're offering." So I had 2 more. And I didn't ask. I was like, 2 again? And I was just very grateful, very thankful. And then he came around again. So I ended up having 6 glasses of wine. And it was very nice. It made the flight go quite quickly. I was able to sleep. I don't normally sleep on planes, but after 6 glasses of wine, I'm pretty sure I could sleep anywhere. So it was lovely. And I kept my mask on while I slept, and I was able to start watching Attack on Titan, which is great so far. I'm excited to be able to watch some more episodes again. I've not been able to pick it up since getting to Seattle, but anyways, yeah, it was great. traveling was honestly fine, and the flight at least was fantastic. Trying to distance myself at the airport, at Heathrow at least, that was questionable, but people were safe for the most part. And yeah, so that was my experience traveling. I can't tell you what it's going to be like going back. We are a bit worried that my flight back could be canceled. That is a real possibility that I'm prepared for, but that would be a big bummer because I'm ready to see my dog and my partner again. But alas. So yeah, that was my experience traveling. And then a couple of you actually asked, Queen Katara in addition asked, I'd love to hear how it's been spending time with your family after not seeing them for a while. I got a couple messages like this. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for caring. It's been wonderful. I've not seen my parents in a year, literally, because Jack and I's flights were obviously canceled this past summer. So that was a bit stressful not getting to see them, and there's been some devastating circumstances recently where it was just kind of time to come home. In fact, I don't think I would have justified traveling during this pandemic. Yes, hello. Hi. I don't think I would have justified traveling during this pandemic had there not been quite exaggerated circumstances. Exaggerated? Extraneous? Something like that. Sorry, I'm not making any cuts in this video, so you're gonna have to watch me awkwardly pause. But yeah, my family's been great. I had to... Well, I don't know if I technically had to. I'm not 100% secure on what the laws are in Washington. I know the guidance is to isolate once you get here. So that's what I did. So basically, my mom showed up at the airport. We didn't touch or hug or anything. We, bumped elbows. And then I sat in the back with my mask on. She sat in the front of the car with her mask on, and we had the windows down a little bit. And then I came home and she had already shopped for me, so I had asked her to pick up some, chickpeas, coconut milk, curry paste, bread, the essentials, some baked beans, so that I could survive for a couple of days leading up to my test. Few days. I can't remember exactly how many days it was between getting here and getting the test, but I isolated by myself because I actually live in a little mother-in-law apartment. My mom's house has a detached garage, so I'm actually able to completely self-isolate here if I need to, so that's what I did. I'm actually sitting outside that right now. Hopefully the neighbors aren't too weirded out that I'm talking to myself. But yeah, and then once I got tested, I was able to go see my dad. He sold the house. They listed it last Friday, and it was sold by Tuesday morning. So goodbye, my childhood house. But life moves on. And my brother was actually really excited to see me. I don't know if I've talked about this at all on the channel, but my brother has something called Smith-Magenis syndrome. We just call it SMS. And he's basically cognitively and developmentally delayed for the rest of his life. He's missing a fraction of his, pardon me if I get this incorrectly, but a fraction of his 13th chromosome. And it's a genetic disorder. So he is probably mentally... it depends on what the situation is, but I'd age him between 6 and 10 or 12. And he has, delayed speech, delayed motor skills, stuff like that. Anyways, so normally when I come home and see family, well, the iPhone cut out. Anyways, so when I normally see my brother when I come home, I walk in the door and he goes, "Oh, hey, Billie!" And then he's excited to see me for a couple minutes, and then he normally just goes back to what he's doing, which is normally, playing with Pokemon cards, or on the iPad, or watching television, or just whatever he's focused on at the time. But this time, when I saw him when I went over to my dad's house, to kind of celebrate the house being sold. He went downstairs with us, and while we were having dinner, he visited, and he jumped in on our conversations, and he was chatting with us and engaging with us. And that was really cool, because I had not experienced that really before. If we were having dinner, he would normally, jump in on conversations, but this was we're done eating, it's after supper time, we're downstairs just chatting, and he has his full attention on my dad and I in the conversation that we're having. So that was really interesting. So, talk about seeing family. Well, I've not seen my developmentally delayed brother in over a year, and there are, significant changes that I can see in his progress, which is really cool. A bit, not sad, but, it makes me feel a bit upset that I miss out on stuff like that, but alas. So yeah, it's really nice seeing family. I'm not seeing my extended family, and this actually leads into the next question I'm going to answer, which is what your favorite holiday tradition is. I think what you're asking is just what's your favorite holiday tradition. And my favorite holiday tradition is just being able to see my extended family. I have a massive extended family. 3 aunts and uncles on either side, so lots of cousins, and I love seeing my cousins, and when I was a kid, I extra loved seeing my cousins because it was family that I could, have a conversation with, if that makes sense. That should make sense if you now understand how my brother is, but anyways. So it's a bit upsetting that we don't get to see our extended family this year. But, what are you gonna do? It's better to keep people safe than anything. So, yeah, so that's my favorite holiday tradition. In a more literal sense, my favorite holiday tradition is probably the snow and maybe going snowmobiling. But that's more of a winter thing. My family has a small family cabin that they've had since the 80s that my granddad actually built with his own 2 hands, which is insane. But we've got a small family cabin up in the Cascades that we can go to in the wintertime, and my mom actually managed to get an equalizer snowmobile. If you don't speak snowmobile, this might not make sense. It doesn't really make sense to me even, but my mom was explaining it. We had these snowmobiles from the 80s for years, and one of them finally broke down about 5 years ago, I think, and my mom's been looking for the same model, this 84 equalizer, for years. And she finally found one, and get this, it's got do you know the send it dude, the I'm just gonna send it, that guy? Sorry, that was a horrible impression, but that guy. He, this is one of his old bikes. So we got one of the send it dude's old snowmobiles for real cheap, because it's a machine from the 80s. So that's really exciting. So yeah, I think my favorite thing to do in the wintertime is go snowmobiling on our really old snowmobiles. And spend some time in the snow. Be out in the wilderness and be unable to use your cell phone, stuff like that. Anyways, I'm coming up to the 20-minute mark here, so I should probably wrap it up. So yeah, Fika is flat. I'm really excited for what's coming next. What I'm probably gonna do, I'll put some pictures up on the screen of what I'm thinking of doing. But basically, I want it to be the town at the base of a hike. You know what I mean? Those little towns where it kind of exists because the hiking trail is there, and you've got your little urban bit, and then you go up a mountain, and then there's some rural, houses around it. Anyways, hard to explain, but that's where Fika's going, in case you were curious. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and happy holidays. Bye!